All right, we're going to get into reacts. This one's crazy to me still. I think he's probably got the best takes out of anybody who makes Star Citizen content. Maybe this'll prove me wrong or something, but Odd Job Entertainment is really, really good. And I don't understand what's going on here with the algorithm in his channel. So the last time we reacted to his channel was a couple months ago. We kept pushing him, and that video got a lot of views. This is the same situation again. I have not watched this video on my own or anything, but I know Odd Job is going to have a good take on this. And the thumbnail was talking about progression. The title is talking about what we don't have, so progression. I don't know if he's like tagging his videos wrong or what. This doesn't make any sense. Everybody's views are down because nobody gives a shit about Star Citizen. But, guys, I'm going to link the video before we even start so you guys can subscribe to the channel. But subscribing doesn't do anything if you don't watch. This is a channel you guys should be watching. If you're watching me, you should be watching this channel as well. Takes are very much aligned, typically. So let's see what he has to say. Oh, I have it muted. Hold on. Because I wasn't sure if it was going to autoplay.
Halo 3 Recon. If you're anything like me, you hear that phrase and you start thinking about the good old days. Wearing the Recon set was the ultimate power move in Halo 3. It represents the culmination of a series of challenges that showed extreme dedication. To get this set, you had to complete Vidmaster. This included reaching the rank of Lieutenant, completing a mission on Legendary with everyone in Ghosts, logging in on a specific day and playing ranked with 7 XP, finding all the Mythic Map skulls, passing the 4th set in Firefight on Heroic difficulty, completing Coastal Highway without Warthogs or Scorpions, and finally finishing any level on Legendary without shooting or throwing a grenade. For doing all this, you got the Recon set, the ultimate bragging rights for any Halo 3 player. Games today have strayed from this in favor of quick money grabs in the form of paid cosmetics that undercut the value of earning your loot in the game. Star Citizen.
Yes. And I would argue that's probably okay. It depends on what else they do.
Unfortunately, is no better. While their monetization scheme is understandable, it does leave us wondering, what does long-term progression look like in a game that so far has been willing to sell you everything?
Everything's for sale, my friend. Everything. If I had a sister, I'd sell her in a second.
That leaves progression in a rough spot, or I should say it's always been there. The only true progression we currently have is AUEC, or earning more credits. What can you get with
earning wipe credits that wipe?
Credits. More ships. And what do those ships enable you to do? Earn more credits. So once you have that last ship that you wanted, the game is basically over, unless you constantly come up with ways to keep yourself entertained. Now you can do that, but in a game that's trying to capture the imagination of millions of gamers, and with so much other fierce competition out there, that's a really bad strategy.
What about reputation? Is that not progression? Where's the reputation? What does it do? What's your argument here? Guys, they can do this all they want. But if it's not in the game, it doesn't matter. Did we learn nothing from CitizenCon last year so far? It doesn't matter unless they do it. They can talk and show everything and super pretty. Oh my God, this is amazing. But they didn't do anything.
Strategy.
I mean, it's not they didn't do anything, but they didn't do the things on the progression side, reputation side, reward side, game side. It was just more locations. And Jared keeps saying on ISC, SCL, this, we put the visuals first for a really long time, and we're going to be doing things differently. And I think specifically on SCL, he said something along the lines of like, yeah, we've only had one patch since then, so people aren't really seeing it. But in 3.24, they're going to see it. And it's like, dude, look at 3.24. Are you fucking kidding me?
For a developer. Part of this is certainly due to the fluid nature of Star Citizen's development. And you can definitely make the argument of, well, why invest dev time in a game where wipes are at least still a possibility, albeit less and less frequent as time has gone on?
I don't know what he's going to say. Sorry for this pause, Oddjob. There we go. Maybe that's better. The investing dev time in building the foundation of your game means you're investing dev time in building your game. They have wasted more dev time on these meaningless, beautiful locations, planets, cities, settlements, outposts, stations, and more that do literally nothing because they never built a foundational game design system behind any of it. You do nothing in this game of importance, of value, of anything. It doesn't make any sense. It's amazing. It's beautiful. But it only is cool, and it's only going to be awesome if they build a game under that or behind that or foundationally. That is when this game will be cool because they have all those things. So it's not that making all those things was necessarily bad. It was making all those things before you ever had any foundational game design at all. And what you will see, and if you really pay attention, what you'll see is you'll watch the game developers, the people who are actually trying to make the game, be hampered by the already designed locations that break any traditional game design or features that they would want to put in. They are held back by the locations that have been built because they can't design what they would have wanted to design in that location without those locations needing to be redesigned. But we don't waste work at CIG, guys. We do it first, and we do it right the first time.
It also has the downside of constantly pushing out the goalposts of when we expect Star Citizen to behave like a game. With a focus on producing 4.0 and a true 1.0 experience, getting the game side of things figured out is critical. With fewer tech hurdles to overcome, the focus has been and needs to continue shifting to fleshing out the content and gameplay aspect of this otherwise great tech demo. Progression is how you do that. So what is progression?
Progression is one of the ways you do that. In an MMO, players want to do many different things. Everybody has their little niche that they take part in, right? Some people may never leave a station if that has meaningful gameplay. They may never leave this individual station if the gameplay is meaningful enough to them. So,
for the purpose of this video, we'll define this as giving players short, medium, and long-term goals. Your players need to feel like they have a sense of direction and something to work towards. Earning enough credits to get X item or ship is fine for a short-term goal, but the time invested and the payoff is also short-lived. As wipes become less and less common, it becomes increasingly apparent that we need much more than this. The reputation.
All right, we're 3 minutes into a 20-minute video, but when we keep talking about buying a ship and buying a component or buying a weapon, the FPS side of the game's got it pretty well figured out, I think. The ship side of the game, the one that you spent all your money on, is the one that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And they contradict each other. I have my FPS gear that I lose all the time. And I have my ship gear that I can't lose. It's impossible. What's it going to be? What gives, right? So if losing components, losing ships was a thing, I'm not saying it should be a thing, but if losing components and losing a ship was a thing, if your progression can take steps backwards, then the forward progression starts to mean a lot more.
Reputation
what
is
I'm trying to
CIG's
say.
first stab at making medium and long-term goals.
Not
The
saying they
current
should do
problem
that,
is, as you advance your reputation in any career path, you only gain access to higher AUEC earning potential. The higher-paying mercenary missions might be more fun and challenging, but there's a growing emptiness as the AUEC earned has a lesser impact to your overall experience. With a few simple...
Yeah, to piggyback off of that a little bit, even more so is as you progress through the missions, the tasks and the missions or whatever, or reputation of missions, you might get a more difficult one or more enemies at it. But first off, the variety of it doesn't change enough. There's no narrative there. It's not telling you a story. You could progress through a story. That's progression, right? But what is funny about it is you start to make more money. So as you play the game longer, the money becomes more meaningless automatically, but then you're getting more of it when the meaningful nature of what you are doing should have almost nothing to do with money. It should have to do with, your character being better, or right, like traditional games that have skill systems and things like that, you're getting more XP, right? And we don't have any of that. So there's this weird emptiness with the lack of those RPG elements of the game.
Tweaks though, reputation could be extremely valuable.
Progression as it could be. All right, let's see what
Suppose you're doing mercenary missions around Hurston. By the nature of the totalitarian corporation and policies controlling the area, this is pretty hard to start off with, as Hurston does not allow weapon sales to civilians. So any tools of the trade you're using have to come from elsewhere, and only certain weapons are allowed to be carried through customs. Ergo, you might be starting off with just a sidearm.
Let's read what he said. The idea I'm trying to convey here is that if you land at Lorville without the proper credentials, they might stop you if you come armed. Obviously, looting is a thing, but maybe until you have the right level, your stuff gets confiscated if you try to bring it past security.
Ergo, you might be starting off with just a sidearm. As you progress your reputation with the local security forces, you gain access to a full carry permit, which now allows you to carry any weapon class without being stopped or impeded at security checkpoints.
Why do I need a weapon inside of Lorville? Let's play a game. At some point in the next minute, I move closer to the microphone and the audio suddenly improves. First person to comment with the correct timestamp gets a pin and a shout out in a community post. Okay.
Of course, you're still gaining access to higher difficulty missions with better payouts. To further aid you in this, progressing further might then give you access to Hurston Security's armorers. Going to any of the local businesses, you can now purchase Hurston Security armor sets through officially sanctioned dealers. Maxing out your reputation gives you access to the coveted Red Eye Artemex set. By initially placing limitations on players, you give them an added challenge. Then, by sprinkling rewards into the reputation system, players have discrete methods to measure their progression. I started off with no access to my full arsenal. Now I have it. I couldn't legally wear Hurston Security colors and armors. Now I have access to a light armor set, then the medium, the heavy, and then that.
Okay, to balance this with looting, as we see here, just might mean you can't bring looted items into the city or guarded areas without proper credentials. This applies realistically only to a place that's authoritarian like Hurston happens to be. Yeah, which is why I don't think this is a great example. I think it needs to be, you just need to be more broad here, is when you earn something, you need to feel that thing that you earned. Now, feeling can be like the example I gave at the beginning of the video. That armor that you got in Halo 3 doesn't do anything, doesn't protect you from more damage, but it's like, yo, look at this sick looking thing. That's why he mentioned the Artemex armor. Artemex armor looks cool. A lot of people wanted to farm it because it looks cool. That could be your reasoning. But for me, the Artemex armor should also come with, extra damage reduction, or I don't know, better, maybe I run out of food and water less quickly or something, that kind of shit.
That Artemex set. You might be wondering though, if someone advances their rep in an area,
if it's strictly cosmetic in a game that has no skill system, right? The stats need to be applied to the items. that you're looting. And the progression system needs to go through those items exclusively because that's all you got. So, yeah, it's cool-looking armor. But this game's dead if all it is cool-looking armor.
Area, what's to prevent someone else just buying armor from them and skipping all that grind for themselves? Well, there's a number of ways to mitigate this. Arguably, the true value of the Hurston Security armors is in the skins applied to them. You can separate these two elements such that having access to the shader is player-specific and can't be sold. This could also apply to all subscriber gear and unique skins across the board. You can also have local factions be hostile to players
This is very cosmetic focus. Too much for me.
wearing colors they haven't earned, something akin to stolen valor in the real world. I'm partial to separating it out as a skin that can be applied to armor, as that seems to mitigate some of the issues we face currently with paid gear, while also future-proofing it somewhat in the sense that you can buy armor elsewhere, apply your favorite skin, and not have to travel across multiple systems to get the color you want.
Yeah, I mean, that
It also more strictly...
Whatever they do, I should be able to apply my skins much easier than I can right now.
enforces the idea that seeing a player wearing Hurston Security armors means that player did something to earn them. It's a way to show off and flaunt your achievements. Multiply this out to the other security factions in the game today, the criminal factions that will exist tomorrow, and the numerous other entities to exist in the future, and you've got a lot of medium-term goals for players to work for.
Yeah, I'm like kind of behind this. It's the idea of cosmetics being a part of the game is big, but because for me the thing that I get stuck on with my own mentality about cosmetics and that being a progression system in the game is we need something for them to sell to players for money, and I don't want it to be ships or ship components. I want it to be as few ships and ship components as possible. I want it to be as few like actual useful mechanics in the game as possible. I know they've done it for nearly everything. Fuck, they've sold land, you know? But it's not going to happen. So I don't know why I think that way. And Oddjob's probably on more of a realistic path of what might actually happen in the game than what I'm thinking. But for me, I really want them to just sell cosmetics like crazy. And because they don't mean anything to the actual game. But I have played plenty of MMOs where you see something that somebody's wearing, you think it looks cool, and the first question you ask is, how did you get that? And when swiping a credit card is the answer, it immediately demoralizes you. So I get where he's coming from.
But wait, there's more. Right now, the reputation is localized, such that you working for Hurston Security only earns you reputation for Hurston Security and does nothing to advance Crusader Security or anything else.
Maybe it even reduces it.
There is not currently a Stanton Security freelancer that encapsulates the entire system. But what if there was? What if maxing out the reputation in any smaller area granted you a perk with this larger system security contractor? You might structure it such that earning max rep with the Blackjacks of ArtCorp is easier to entice players to do that one first. Then when they complete it, they earn a discount on ship components in the system. Or maybe they earn a rookie skin that can be applied to their ships. Checking off the next planet earns them an additional perk and skin, as well as a mounting reward for now having completed 2 planets and so on for the 3rd planet. Completing the entire system has to give you something real nice.
Yeah. I don't know if you should be able to complete the entire system. The Stanton is very unique. So yes, maybe in Stanton. So I don't think this example is bad at all. But I think in future systems, specifically Pyro, if you're building rep with one of them, you're likely lowering your rep with another, right? Certainly when you're building your rep with these, you're lowering your rep with the Ninetales. So that's a thing in this system as well. And yes, Star Citizen does have rep loss if you don't maintain it. I don't like that necessarily. I think that can change long term, but yeah, I don't know. This system of progression is like the subtle behind the scenes progression that is like applied to your character that I really, really like. Yeah. So I'm little things like, you know, where he says Cousin Crow discount, or, you know, I can, you know, get repair and refuel costs cheaper, or, you know, maybe my loading cargo is quicker, that kind of stuff. I think those are cool because you can then use these systems to min-max for the min-maxers. I think that's what I would add on to this, is I like what he's saying, but if you're going to do this, you want to have that cosmetic element on it. You want it to apply to as many people as possible, basically. You have that cosmetic element onto it. You have the FPS player aspects of it. You got the repair or fuel costs that everyone would want. And then you have the like, all right, well, if I'm a cargo hauler, I'm going to get this, you know? We need notification, Hurston reputation increased by 0.8. Yeah, probably. You can go to your reputation on your Mobiglass and see that yourself, but I don't know. I think that's how I look at it, is it needs to kind of touch on most aspects of the game to entice people to want to do this. But that min-maxy element is really important with the like, all right, if I love cargo hauling and I know I'm doing runs to and from this, you know, this station or whatever, I'm going to want to make sure that my rep is maxed with this. So then I'm doing gameplay that I don't normally do. And it gets you out of that mentality of constantly doing the same thing over and over again, even though you're doing something different for that thing that you do over and over again. And then whatever that is, it better feel improved, right? I better feel how quickly my ship is being loaded. I better really tangibly see the repair and refuel cost reduction, right? That kind of stuff.
It could be an exclusive skin for your armor, a special weapon variant. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
An idea I'm partial to is making it such that this is the
like armory access is a huge one. Like literally a door opening for you that was closed.
Only way to gain access to a specific brand of FPS weapons. We've seen the recent showcase of the Volt weapons soon to come out. What if maxing out system rep was the only way to get access to the Volt arsenal? That would make these weapons a highly sought after treasure. Again,
excuse me, Mr. Oddjob. Well, Volt weapons are actually kind of like you like mail order them and then you put them together. They're like Legos but guns, and that really wouldn't work in the lore. So I don't agree with that, but that's really a cute idea.
To prevent these top level players from flooding the market with Volt guns, there's a number of methods you can employ. Specific to weapons, you can have the batteries be an exclusive item sold only to permitted users and be considered contraband at security stations due to their volatile nature and ease for abuse. With durability elements being introduced for all items in the game, you can also have arms dealers only repair Volt weaponry when received from authorized agents. And if none of those ideas float your boat so far, there's still a lot of other options. Another one could be earning a ship outright that comes decked with the Stanton Enforcer skin, or maybe this is how you earn the right to buy property in corresponding monitored systems. It then goes without saying that if you
unfortunately, you can buy property on the website.
You have a reputation being earned at the planetary level that advances progression at the system level, then at some future point with multiple systems in the game, there's obviously room for earning things at an even higher region level as well. Perhaps the upper echelon of players is someone roaming around in their fighter that has the ultra exclusive skin for having completed the entire universe. At that point, they've officially just beat the game, at least until the next expansion introduces something that even they don't have. This also introduces a natural ebb and flow of traffic as players move system to system trying to earn new stuff. For instance, it pulls players into Pyro, where they may face added challenges to get the Pyro collectibles under their belt. Admittedly, this has all been framed from a combat perspective, which only represents a portion of the larger game. That's
I thought it was more framed from a cosmetic perspective most of the time, but
probably just because I myself largely play shooters, so that's how my reptile brain sees things. But I'm sure it's equally obvious that these still apply to industrial players as well. The unfortunate side being that their corresponding reputation factions have yet to be introduced. All of this encapsulates just one aspect of progression possible in a massive game like Star Citizen.
I mean, I think Hurston and ArcCorp makes ship components, right? Hurston and ArcCorp and Crusader. Microtech, not as much. But those three really hammer home what rep could be like, which is this gun that we're looking at, you can't buy until you've built rep with them. Or it's incredibly expensive, but you can reduce that cost. Or when you do missions for them, you get this weapon as a reward, right? But again, I think that kind of stuff only works if we start losing components on death, right? So that's the part that I'm not sure a lot of people want, but I don't see the game without it. I don't get how the game works without it. Like, they keep talking about crafting. What are we crafting if I'm not crafting this thing? You know what I mean? What am I crafting if I'm not crafting a quantum drive? So if I can craft them, I got to be able to lose them. But the current game has given us no indication that we're going to lose components on death, right? So they've given no indication that even when one goes down to 0 health, that it's dead permanently, right? Because they've kind of rolled back on that during the engineering demo stuff. So who knows?
These are also all medium-term goals in spite of how long they may take to complete. They're medium-term goals because they do have some type of ending that marks the task complete. A true long-term goal is something that will always be there, always be a way to spend your time, and always offer a challenge. Base building is the most obvious example of this that we know of.
Okay.
It stands to reason that you'll be...
I wasn't sure what he meant, and now I get it. 15-year-old game has a better inventory system than your $700 million project. Based.
Working hard to pay the property taxes and security fees in systems where that applies. In low security zones, you'd be constantly maintaining your own security, which comes with its own cost. Keeping equipment functioning and farms productive also require user input and maintenance. And there's a number of arguments that long-term play feeds into proper org gameplay.
Yeah, that's where, like, my last pause, that's what I was going to say, is I feel like the long-term play of an MMO, specifically an MMO with PvP, think, like, you know, the EVE example that I give all the time now lately that I've been playing it, is it's kind of the sandbox element of us versus them and the things that organically happen in the game. It's this power struggle between large alliances and shit like that, and territory and all this other stuff. The game doesn't really need to produce that end game gameplay for players. The players produce it for themselves against each other in games like that. But again, everything that we know about Star Citizen gives us no indication that that will happen whatsoever. Player-owned stations, not going to be a thing as far as we know. Player-owned planets, definitely not going to be a thing as far as we know. We're going to have our own little bases, but a 5x5 kilometer or 4x4 and 8x8, I think that's is what it is. They are huge. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge plot of land, right? But when spaceships can fly hundreds, if not thousands of meters per second, that play space becomes a lot smaller. So what does all that mean? What is our long-term goals in the game? It's hard to say, right? It's probably impossible unless it's explained the way Oddjob did it with, like, well, Base building is always there. Base building seems like it's going to be customizable. Base building seems like it's something you can always do. Maybe you have to manage the things that you're doing at your base often, right? Same thing with maybe your habs, your ships and things like that. Yes. Ships can't be your end game. Ships cannot be your end game. The end game has to be something that isn't a thing that when you get it, the game ends. Right? The Bengal carrier could be your end game if your end game is using it on the actual end game, like killing your enemies or something like that, right? Or playing with your friends to do a certain thing. So that's for me, ships are the tools in the sandbox. But the struggles and what we do is either designed by them or designed by us.
That deserves its own video. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you'd like to see that one.
I'm going to link it again because it's still mind-blowing to me how little love this channel gets. It's crazy. Please subscribe. Please watch his videos. He's going on the do not watch list as far as reacts until you guys start watching his videos more, because this is ridiculous. I did this last time. I reacted like a month ago, 2 months ago, and I haven't really watched any of his videos since, for the reason of hopefully that helps. And it did in the short term, but then again, I feel like it's something he's doing in the back, like he's not putting in Star Citizen as the game or tagging his videos correctly, because the view count makes no sense.
In the future, to increase the longevity of the reputation system and add long-term elements to it, being that it doesn't end, we can consider the competing factions in the game. Suppose that initially I find that the legal contractors offer the rewards I'm most interested in. This puts me at odds with the illegal factions, so I miss out on those rewards.
Yep.
Then, with a minor content refresh, let's say the headhunters start offering a skin for the railgun that I really, really want. I then have to grind reputation with headhunters to get it.
Yep.
This then starts draining my reputation with the legal factions I'd been working for previously, and when they offer something new, I have to do work for them again to get it. I know.
So this isn't going to happen. And here's what I fear for this. This is good. Like, it's good to choose to go for the Civilian Defense Force and that Ninetales goes down. This is not going to happen, but the reason why it's not going to happen, we're not exactly sure how it's going to work yet. You might have multiple game packages on your account. They'd spoken about that maybe being multiple character slots. We have no idea what's going to happen here. But what I know the min-maxers are going to do, and MMO players are traditionally your most min-maxy audience in any game ever. They will min-max the fun out of the game completely. I think somebody said that in Twitch chat not a long time ago. And that is totally true. What they're going to do here is they're going to have a character that farms lawful rep for the lawful rewards, and they're going to have a character that farms unlawful rep for the unlawful rewards. And then they will combine their powers together and give them to their main character who has both.
I know this may sound like a chore, but this is just one of many ways that games build longevity with their systems. You could easily make a comparison here between seasonal vendors in Destiny 2. Yet another long-term goal to implement may come in the form of widespread maintenance.
Can you guys give me the lowdown on what seasonal vendors are in Destiny 2? I've never played it. I played Destiny 2 on launch. It was like kind of fun, but it never captivated me to like play it long term. So I have no idea what he's talking about.
Of your belongings.
I'll pause when you guys let me know.
With wear and tear being implemented, your pristine ship won't stay that way forever, and components will have to be swapped out from time to time. We
don't know for sure. We hope so. But again, if you play the engineering demo on 323 or 324 right now, what you'll see is that you can repair your components from zero.
CIG will also surely introduce new brands and types of components in the future, and it will be a constant challenge to dissect the meta for any particular ship. Another way to make this impactful, however, is to introduce specialized gear that offers maybe a 1 or 2% better performance over what you can buy in stores. If you lose these components and cannot replace them via claims due to their rarity, you can drive players to complete content to earn back those parts.
All right, so I'm assuming this is Destiny, and we got some word in chat of what that means. Different people hop into the tower for different holidays and give you holiday-specific quests. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it's kind of like what we get with holiday rewards and stuff like that. It's just it's all linked to our hangar, and it's super, like, the way we do everything in Star Citizen right now is you like do actions in the game, and the reward goes from in the game and gets ripped out and is thrown on a website, and that's kind of where it is stored for you to be able to see it in the game later and use it. It's a very odd experience, and I feel like it's only an odd experience because of the way we view our items on the website. Obviously, every video game tracks your reputation, your inventory, and all these things with databases. That's essentially all it is just visualizing a database for you in your hangar on the website, right? This isn't, like, this is common. Like, this isn't not normal, but it's just, it's very weird that some items are stored that way and others aren't. That is where Star Citizen, it kind of differs a little bit, sort of. Obviously, some games have account-bound items that can't be lost, and other items that can. But, like, all the cool items are account. It's just yeah. Star Citizen just feels like that it hasn't quite figured out what it is yet. From that standpoint, for sure.
For instance, if I want the fastest quantum drive that can still go across Stanton in my Gladius, I might have to do a raid and bring proof of it to a vendor. It could also be loot at the final chest you get to. This concept also ties in well with crafting in the future. If I've got the blueprint for that same quantum drive, maybe my challenge is finding the raw materials and components to create it. If I then sold these...
I mean, that's exactly what I'm experiencing in EVE. The blueprints for certain, like, I'm at the Tech 1 level, but the blueprints I was able to easily afford for Tech 2. But what I can't do is, because I'm such a new player, is I can't find or get all those components easily. I have to kind of delve and dive into this whole other aspect of the game that I don't quite understand yet. And it's like, you know, the game has miles of depth, and it's like kind of overwhelming, to be honest, in a negative way, that it's like, I don't even want to get into this because it's just so much. But at the same time, yeah, I have this blueprint staring at me going, you should probably go do this, you know? So it's smart.
To other players, I'd have my own mini loop of tracking down these parts en masse to keep the wheels of commerce turning. And player trade is another fairly simple means of giving players long-term goals. I might specialize in hunting down particular components or crafting said component to then sell in a player commerce system. With what we've covered so far, it should be pretty clear that there is...
I think this video is great. The only feedback I would give is that sound.
Plenty of room for creativity for CIG to reward players and implement various kinds of progression, both with what we know they plan to do and with what I'd like to see them do. I want to end here with a bit of a warning. Put simply, you cannot have progression in a game where that can simply be undercut with a credit card. All value of everything I've described goes out the window if someone can simply buy it. You can never have the pride of wearing that red eye Artemex set if someone can just pay money and skip all the work you did to get it. I think this even applies to subscriber items and paid gear.
The violin.
Having these items enter the loot pool does devalue them for paying customers too.
Exactly. They've gone about this so poorly in so many ways. Like, okay, you made these unique, cosmetic exclusively, for the most part, items on the shop. And they end up in the loot pool after a few months. And we were supposed to, like, thumbs up you for that. And it's like, no, you're taking value away from these cosmetic items that mean nothing to players, or nothing to the game, gameplay, I should say. And it's more just like, hey, I want to look cool. And you're devaluing it for them, which is like your cash cow opportunity here that you're ruining for yourself. And then for us, you're not adding the things that the players have been begging for and actually need, which is meaningful, tangible progression that you could feel. The faster quantum drive, right? The I don't know, the bigger magazine on your P4AR or your C. Imagine a long magazine on a C54. The damage you would do with that. What about, quicker, rate of fire on a shotgun? Like, just from the FPS standpoint, and then apply all of that madness to ships, and it's like, oh, wow. Yes, there's lots of ways I can do things. I made a video not too long ago about maybe restricting certain types of components from certain ships. Again, it was coming from the way EVE works. Is I was flying a mining ship that I could apply a certain type of laser to for mining, and then I bought a new one, and I wasn't able to use a new mining laser on this ship. I could only use it on this ship. And at first I was angry, and I was like, wow, I just wasted my money. And then I realized it was like, oh, they're making each one of these ships have a purpose. So it's like, if I wanted to mine ice, I can't really use the ship that I have here. I got to use something else because it's kind of, this one is set up for that better, right? And it was like, oh, the thing that I was really angry at initially is actually really smart. And the way we've been doing it in CIG is, and playing in Star Citizen, is so boring. Everybody puts on the same components on all of their ships. Same shields, same power plant, same quantum drive. Boom. And the only difference is the size. No metas. There's just one meta. It's boring. And to be fair, it's still just this. It's still just talk, and no fucking action yet. But the one person who I trust, at least, to do some action is Torsten. And he talked about going, hey, we want there to be a significant difference between industrial components and military grade and, competition. What I'd like to see is you can only put competition components on a M50, racing ships, stuff like that. You can't even apply them to a Vulture, let's say. Why would you?
I think CIG really needs to start implementing two kinds of items. They can and should keep bolstering the roster of paid items as a way to make money. I'm totally fine with that. But these items need to be exclusive to paid customers, and likewise there needs to be distinct and separate items that can only be acquired in-game via progression, looting, crafting, etc.
Distinct, separate, and significantly more volume of them. The game development, the dev time spent needs to be spent on number 3, designing hundreds of these items that players progress into exclusively through the game. The art design can be spent on the items that are done on the website, paid for real money. But the game design needs to be spent on number 3 extensively. Please get a grip here. Get a grip. It's like all this time is spent on making cool looking armors, but not functional armor. Cool looking ships and components, but not functional ones. Please and thank you. Please, please and thank you.
Both types of items need to be on an even playing field of value and quality as well. Think about all the pre-order bonuses you may have purchased that seemed so cool, only to be overshadowed by the cosmetic store a month later where the developers clearly spent the lion's share of time. Think about recent Call of Duty games. They have some operators that you can earn by playing the game. But then there's a massive in-game store where you can be Snoop Dogg and Nicki Minaj. The game,
I mean, and that's obviously what everybody wants to be, right? But what I will always defend is running servers is incredibly costly. I'm Call of Duty is Activision, right? Which is now owned by Microsoft. They have a duty to shareholders to make money. And I mean, that's not really my problem as a player, but I think we do have to meet a little bit and have some common ground here. And be like, I understand that these companies need to make money. So I do understand when some cool shit costs money and only money. But what I need is a good game so more people play and then they want that cool shit. Right? We need to meet on a common ground a little bit as gamers, specifically for games like MMOs, that the development studio is going to do things that you may not like to make money. But what we need to set some hard lines on where those things can be done and should be done. And I think the game development studios keep pushing to find where that line is. And for whatever reason, players continue to accept that. And I think the reason is laziness, time, entitlement, and all those other things to just specifically entitlement to say, well, I don't have enough time to play my game, so I guess I'll just pay real money then. I guess I'll just pay real money. And I'll just skip everything, you know? And then when that reward gives you everything, the pay real money one, and it gives you the same thing that players are earning in the game, you're fucked, man.
Wholesale abandons any semblance of a serious military shooter in favor of easy cash grabs from kids with too much credit card access. You don't end up seeing too many of the earnable skins because they're completely lacking compared to the VFX of a flaming skeleton. And to be clear, I am not advocating for these kinds of cosmetics in Star Citizen. I hate them in Call of Duty already. Let's leave those kinds of over-the-top skins to the kiddos.
Yeah,
but I am
agreed.
saying that if you earn something in-game, you should be just as likely to use that as you would something you paid for. Items earned in-game can't be seen as lesser to their paid counterparts. It might make short-term financial sense, especially in games like Call of Duty where it gets replaced each year. But for a game like Star Citizen that wants players to play forever, it's a great way to kneecap player interaction down the road. Coming full circle to Halo, the Recon set was the crowning achievement of a Halo 3 player. It stood above the EOD, Hayabusa, and everything else as the best a player could get. Then, Halo Reach came out, and it was a pre-order bonus. Suddenly, the Recon set that was so loved and fawned over became common and boring. By handing over a bit of cash early to Bungie, you guaranteed yourself Recon. But then you likely dropped it once you earned something else that not everyone was wearing it all the time.
Yep.
For all the possible systems we can implement in a game like Star Citizen, it won't mean much so long as that progression can be undercut by the pledge store. So while selling cosmetics is totally fine in my mind, and there's numerous other things that predictably can and will be sold to players, there is a path forward where the pledge store doesn't taint the game and players can feel validated by their efforts. but it's going to require a lot of content in the game, and there needs to be exclusivity between these two primary sources of gear. Odd job from the editing bay here. I love this latest episode of Inside Star Citizen. I think it showed a lot of what I'd like to see in the game going forward. And they talked a lot about contested zones, and I think that there's a great deal of potential there. If they...
Potential. They didn't tell us what the rewards are.
Introduce new rewards. If all you get at...
They are definitely introducing new rewards, I think, because they didn't tell us what they were. I feel like they would tell us what they were if it was something we already have. It just comes down to, like, is the reward some cosmetic thing, or is the reward something tangible? And cosmetics are tangible too, but I think you know what I mean. Like, yeah, better gear, that kind of stuff.
At the end of that chest,
essentially leveling your character. And again, I've talked about this before. That is the only way contested zones are going to be successful. If it's another Pico with drugs inside, we're fucked, because contested zones need to have things that people want to fight over. And what people are going to be doing is they're going to be rats. They're going to wait for you to complete and get the reward, and then they're going to kill you to get the reward, and then other people are going to be rats to kill those people to get the reward, and then everybody is ratting all the time, constantly killing each other for the rewards that are there. That's the way this will work. It's like Escape from Tarkov, but in a tiny little thing. I've never done the Dark Zone because I never played enough of whatever that game was. Fucking sucked. The Bullet Sponge Central. I just didn't like that game because of that. But I lost The Division. Thank you. I was just losing my train of thought because I couldn't think of the name The Division. But for me, I kind of look at it as like a miniature Tarkov, hopefully, where you're joining this instance essentially to... You're not just going there to do the PvE side of it and get through the gates and get the reward. That's a part of it. But the other part of it is, yeah, I want to get PvP consistently, but I want to get PvP that's meaningful. Like, I really look at these and go, what am I going to be doing the most at contested zones? It's killing other players and looting them. Well, aside from me getting killed by other players and getting looted, what I will be doing the most, hopefully, when I succeed, is killing other players and looting them for what they have. And hopefully that gear that they have, ammo, meds, armor, and so on, weapons and attachments, are actually meaningful. And we're getting a sense of this a little bit with the light enhancement scopes and things like that, but we haven't seen them go, full into this yet, and they really need to.
Is more subscriber gear. It's going to be a pretty big slap in the face to all the players in the game.
Gear,
I'm already tired of getting subscriber gear in normal missions. I think it's a very lazy way to create content, and it's not very rewarding at the end of the day. If I do a challenging mission, I want to get something for doing that mission that I can only get by doing that mission. That level of exclusivity is what makes it a way to flaunt and show off later. If I'm showing off the same gear that my friend just bought in the store, there's really no sense of pride or accomplishment there. And I think we're at a point in the game's development where we can start expecting more content like this. A lot of the tech hurdles have been overcome, and
I don't think we can expect more content like this until they start doing it initially. Right? Like we saw it looks very done. Right? But how well implemented was it? How good are the rewards? How they got to do this stuff first before we could start expecting it. And I fell for it. I think a lot of people fell for it because, Star Citizen, the excitement around Star Citizen has never been as high as it was after CitizenCon last year. Everybody fell for it, and they did not deliver yet. They have a few more months. But they didn't deliver yet. And I think that's what... I think I'm at the point where, they should be able to do these things. They are getting over some technical hurdles, so on and so forth, but they haven't done it yet. They haven't proven that they can do it, and you're just waiting.
To a point where the team really can start focusing
a few more months before the next CitizenCon. 12 months from now.
On gameplay and filling out that narrative experience. And because of that, I think that we should start to see a lot more variety in armor types and aesthetics and things that players can customize to feel special. And if we don't get that, that's a really good way to choke growth for the game in the future. We've got a great foundation in Star Citizen. It's a pond that's a mile wide, but right now it's only an inch deep. Adding player progression and implementing these various kinds of player growth and experience is how you get it to feel like a full, cohesive experience. To wrap up, we talked about a lot.
The unfortunate thing is I've been saying this since 2015.
Lot of different kinds of progression that could
and it's still an inch deep.
Exist in Star Citizen. Many of them are in the works already or are coming down the pipeline. And I had a lot of fun thinking about ways to make the game feel more rewarding, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the ideas I've put forward. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, this is Odd Job Entertainment signing off.
Oh, that's the timestamp. 1920.
Games today have strayed from this path in favor of quick money grabs in the form of paid cosmetics. Undercut the value of earning your loot in the game. Games today have strayed from this path in the form...
I got an awesome tool for you. It's very cheap. Let me see if I still have the box somewhere. I might. I can't find it. There is a little teleprompter that you can put. It's very cheap. It's like a little metal thing, and you could attach to your webcam, and then you put your teleprompter app on your phone, and you just put a text file in a Dropbox, and it automatically works. And then you don't have to remember what's on your Google Doc on your monitor, because I saw you looking at it during the video. You don't have to do that. You just look at the camera, and it's like one of the cheapest upgrades you can make if you're going to be making videos like this for a YouTuber. So hopefully he hears that and it'll help him. If not, I'll DM him or something. I think I see the box up there maybe. But yeah, it's great. So do that. But once again, don't make Odd Job feel like this. Get subscribed to his channel, and please watch the videos. We're not going to watch them for a while, because, yeah, it's again, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand. His videos are so good, and he's so I think he's just so on point with how the community's feeling. So usually, I would argue that your algorithm problems are your content, and your audience isn't enjoying it, but there's definitely an audience for these kind of videos, so I don't understand. He's like mega underrated. It's crazy. The Elgato prompter looks awesome for this kind of video. The Elgato prompter is $300. It is not awesome for this kind of video. And no, there are way cheaper ways to do it. Do not buy an Elgato teleprompter. It's horrible. So, yeah. I literally bought it and sold it back, or sent it back. Tried to, and then they wouldn't let me. And then, you know what I use it as? It's the platform that I put my phone teleprompter on. There you go. So, the link to mine I need to find the name of. But, yeah, that was Odd Job. That was progression. The thing that I've been begging for in this game since 2015. And I don't know if there's any end in sight and when we'll get it.